This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 7 through 9. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto the heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren, pushing this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, 144,000. All right, I'm the brother Dama Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right, in this place, Babylon, all right, it's talking about America through the spirit, all right, and this place is fallen and it is fallen, all right. Now it hasn't completely fallen, into complete judgment and nuclear annihilation, but we see it falling in many, many facets, financially, morally, politically, its allies are turning against this place. And we see a lot of these countries through the BRICS nations, Japan, Russia, China, all of the other superpowers, they're all, turning against Babylon the Great. And America is finding itself to be isolated and on an island all by itself, because the Lord is setting this place up to be completely destroyed. All right. And I was reading this article, and it's just, highlighting a lot of the points that this Jeremiah 51, 7 through 9 is speaking of, how this place, now all the nations are mad, the nations have taken on this dollar, the nations have taken on financial partnerships and, different ways of laying with this filthy whore, Babylon the Great. And now the nations are mad, and now all of these nations, they don't want anything to do with America. Financially, militarily, strategically, everybody is turning and running as fast as they can away from the whore. And this place is finding itself on a complete island all by itself so that it can be ultimately destroyed. And this place is imploding from the inside out. And it's all the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And there's no bomb. You hear Trump doing all of these tariffs. He's talking about making America great again. It's talking about doing all these financial deals and putting these tariffs on all these different countries to try to, even the playing field, because America for so long has been getting taken advantage of. But that's what you do with a whore. You take advantage of a whore. You abuse a whore. You do what you do with that whore, and you get on with your business. And that's where this place America is finding itself. And now, all of a sudden, Trump and is trying to find some type of balm or healing for all of the pain, all of the corruption, all of the wickedness, the destroying of the people, the poison in the air, and the internal decay and corruption. He's trying to find a way to fix it. And he thinks doing these tariffs and doing all these financial trades and attacking Canada with tariffs and all these countries is going to heal and bring America back until its heyday. But hey, those days are long and gone, and the American dollar is long and gone, and its dominance is just about out of there. And there's nothing that can heal America from the situation that is that it has itself in. Because ultimately it was all prophecy and it was all the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. But I was reading this article, and it just further shows you how this place is destroyed. All right. And this is from Natural News. It says widespread social and economic unrest. It says Steve Quayle issues urgent financial warning of imminent asset collapse and new interview with Mike Adams. And he's talking about America. Which is going to be a complete, total global financial system. But we know America is at the head of that. All right. And, this is why these devils are trying to ultimately bring a new digital currency, bring a CBDCs, universal basic income, and they're doing everything in their power to try to collapse this system so that they can bring in this new system, which is all going to lead to this Esau Edom's total destruction and, the scepter being broken from him. All right. He's seen it in his mind that, the only way to get out of this current situation is to bring in this new system, this new world order, this new digital slave beast system. But ultimately, what he doesn't realize is that that's going to be, bringing in this new system is going to be the end of his whole rulership in society in general. All right, but this article just shows you just how bad of shape this place really is, man. And I'm gonna start here. It says the looming economic collapse in the United States, a comprehensive analysis, and everything that's written in this article is all signs that, like I just read in that Isaiah 51, that Jeremiah 51, that Babylon is fallen, and there's no healing for this place, no matter what the hell they do. All right, so here in the introduction, it says the United States is on the brink of a catastrophic economic collapse, driven by a combination of financial instability, geopolitical tensions, and systematic manipulation. The collapse is not a mere possibility, but an imminent reality. With far-reaching ramifications for every aspect of American life, the following analysis delves into the cause and potential consequences of this impending crisis. And ultimately, this is what happens when you have a society which is ruled by the wicked, which doesn't implement or even considers the law, statutes, and the wisdom of the true creator of heaven and earth, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. See, this is what happens when you're wise in your own conceit, and where, you create a system that is totally, based on fraud and corruption and, unjust weights and balances, fiat money system, and just all of this lawlessness and wickedness, is going to always lead to a decay and a fall of the society. And America isn't no different. Now we're just in the point to where we can link these things with the scriptures and with prophecy to show you that this Babylon the Great definitely is America, which is spoken of in the scriptures. All right. So here we go. It says financial system instability. It says the U.S. financial system is teetering on the edge of collapse. Primarily due to the fragility of the bond markets, the bond market's health is critical because it underpins the value of bank collateral. When bond values decline, the collateral held by banks become less valuable, leading to a chain reaction of defaults and financial instability. The recent failures of several banks, including Silicon Valley Bank, are early indicators of this systemic risk. The selective closure of accounts and the prohibition of wire transfers for gold and silver purchases further underscore the unreliability of the banking system, because ultimately this banking system is based off of fraud, man. All right. Real money is gold and silver, cattle, land, things of that nature. Scripture tell you that Abraham was rich in silver and gold and cattle and lands and different things of that nature. But now this devil has created this monetary fiat system, that doesn't really deal with gold and silver. And that's why the dollar is constantly, that's why the dollar is constantly losing its value each and every day, because it's not backed with just weights and balances. They got rid of the gold standard a long time ago. You see, and now we're seeing the result of this, wicked and corrupt financial system. All right. And these devils are doing everything in their power to use it, to consolidate, the wealth for the super elite and the rich, but to leave everybody else on the bottom to be the poor. And a system like that is just never going to work, man. And we see, how that is causing this whole society and the financial system to be unstable. That's why inflation is so high. That's why the price of everything is through the fucking roof. All right. That's why the cost of living is ridiculous. The price of food, everything is higher. It's not because the food and the property and the houses and the cars and the different thing in this society are more valuable than what they are. It costs more to get it because the value of the dollar is becoming weaker and weaker. So now it's taking you more dollars to buy shit that, taking you more dollars to pay for something that's not even increasing in value. It's not really worth more than what it is, but it's just the value of the dollar is so weak. It's taking you way more dollars that are weakened to pay for something that used to be a lot cheaper. You see, and that's what this system produces, man. It's unstable, and that's why it's collapsing. That's why you see these BRICS nations coming together so that they can have a financial system which is backed by gold and silver. You see? All right, let me get to these points. I want to move up. Look at this. It says the tariff and bank retail bankruptcies. It says the imposition of high tariffs on imports, particularly from China, is exacerbating the financial crisis. These tariffs are leading to the collapse of retail giants like Walmart, Target, and Amazon, which rely heavily on low-cost imports. The commercial real estate sector is also facing a significant crisis, as the closure of retail stores and the decline in commercial activity are leaving vast amounts of property vacant and worthless. The ripple effect of these closures will be felt across the economy, leading to widespread job losses and economic hardship. See? So and no matter which way you look or you swing it, man, hey, this society is showing you that things are about to get a lot harder, things are about to get a lot tighter, and things are about to be, less stable. All type of these companies and these stores are just they're unable to stay in business. And now with these tariffs coming in, hey, be prepared to start seeing things that are going to be more expensive in these stores, but it's going to be less. But they're going to be how do I say? Things are going to get more expensive, but it's going to be less volume of certain goods and services in these stores, because these companies are not going to be able to afford to keep everything fully stocked and continuously buying the products that they need, because the price of inflation is just going to be too expensive. And it's going to be just too hard to keep up with the price of these things. So therefore, hey, things are going to be more expensive, but it's also going to be less of certain products in the store. So don't be surprised, as long as this tariff shit goes on, you're going to start seeing these stores being even more empty, because it just costs too much money for these stores to continuously buy these products and keep them on the shelves. And it just costs too much for them to keep them in the store. Now, of course, they're going to sell them for a little bit higher prices, but it's just not going to keep up with the how expensive it is to continuously buy it. I was just reading an article earlier where this guy in New York, he has a farm and he was buying grain, right? So like he brought the grain for like I forgot how many cows he had on his farm or whatever, but the price was like $2,200 for what he usually buys. But now with these tariffs, he had to put an extra $1,300 on top of that, just from the tariff price. The increase that's coming on that shit. And he was saying that, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to maintain and to keep my my cows fed with this tariff, with the extra price from the tariffs, man. You see? So, hey, man, this place is hey, it's about to be crazy out here. And then I read another article earlier where Trump is telling America, don't be so weak, be patient. We're going to have to ride out this whole the price, these tariffs and the price of all of these things going higher. Well, that's easy for you to say. You're a fucking billionaire. That's easy to say to a lot of these multimillionaires, these elites, these politicians, these people with exorbitant amounts of money. But for the everyday average person, hey, that's the fuck are you talking about, man? How the fuck are we going to hold on when these prices are we're going to be the ones that's the hardest hit and most affected by these tariffs and by these raising prices, man? Hey, our salaries aren't going up. Our paychecks are not, our salaries and paychecks are not keeping up with the demand and the rate of inflation. All right. That means we got to spend more and we're going to have less, man. So how the fuck can we not be weak, but you ain't doing nothing to help the everyday average person? You ain't giving them no stimulus checks. You ain't handing out no money. You ain't doing nothing to help the everyday average struggling person. So, hey, that's going to just cause more tension, more chaos, more anger, and people to be more and more on edge, which we know that's a part of what these elites want. But still, though, hey, man, shit is about to get crazy out here. All right. Well, let me get this one. And this is going to be, this one's a good one. It says economic depression and government response, right? It says the economic depression that is unfolding will be unlike any seen in recent history. The government's response, which is likely to involve printing more money and lowering interest rates, which that's not going to help. That's just inflating, the debt bubble. And that's just, these little minor things that they do to try to prolong the collapse, man. Like I said, it's just going to make things worse in the long run. All right. See, this is why this place can't be healed. See, this is part of their, this is how they try to heal the economy, try to, put a little bit more air in it. But eventually that shit's going to pop. And it's not making anything better. It's really just making everything worse in the long run. But as long as it's the illusion that things are getting better. But like I said, it's still not going to stop the dollar from devaluing. It's still not going to stop these tariffs. It's still not going to stop inflation from happening and the average man from being squeezed. All right. It says the government's response, which is likely to involve printing more money and lowering interest rates, will only exacerbate the problem. Inflation will skyrocket, you see? And when they keep those interest rates at zero, like I said, it's just a temporary situation, but it's not helping. It's really making things worse. All right. Inflation is still going to skyrocket. Things are still going to get more expensive, and the value of the dollar will plummet, you see? But like I said, we know that these elites, they ultimately, a lot of these things they're doing intentionally because they want to do away with this system to bring in this new digital beast system. But in the meantime, hey, the people are going to be hit hard with this shit. It's going to cause more people to go hungry, more people to become homeless, more people to default on their mortgages, on their car notes, on their bills and shit like that. You know, it's going to be harder to put food on the table, which is going to lead people to become more and more desperate. And like I said, this Friday, when I was out on the highways and the byways, don't be surprised in the near future, man. You're going to start seeing people just going into Whole Foods, going into their local grocery stores, Sam's Club, Costco, just filling up a cart full of shit and just walking right out, man. Because they're not going to be, things are so expensive, things are so hard that they're not going to be able to put food on the table and pay their mortgage and pay their car notes, buy their kids clothes, pay bills, pay electric, pay water, do all these things with the current state of the economy, man. Yep, it says the government may attempt to stabilize the economy through a universal basic income, you see, and that's part of the plan of these elites. A universal basic income is basically where the government just, you don't have to work. You don't have to worry about, making money. The government just gives you a certain amount of money every month for you to spend. But we know that comes with strings attached. That comes with absolute control of the government over the people. And it's going to ultimately lead to the MOTB. It says, which would be rolled out using a central bank digital currency. This digital currency system will give the government unprecedented control over individual finances, effectively turning into a mark of the beast system. You see? And this is what we've been telling you, that these devils were ultimately trying to implement. And that's what, part of them collapsing this economy and constantly, not really dealing with the economy the right way, but letting it just collapse, man. Putting more, keeping the interest rates at zero, printing more money, devaluing the dollar, making inflation be higher. All of this tariffs and shit is just another plan for these elites to ultimately to crush the middle class, to crush small businesses. Now, it might have an effect on Walmart and these big box stores, but we know ultimately they're not gonna, they have the money to ultimately to ride it out. But, people, these small business owners, like I said, that guy who had his own farm with his cows, guys like that are going to be crushed through the weight of the inflation and through these tariffs and the increasing prices of things, which eventually, once they collapse this dollar and this financial system as we know it, they're going to bring in the UBIs, the digital CBDCs, which is going to lead to what? The mark of the beast, the MOTB. So like I said, all this shit is being done in tandem, man. Trump is out here acting like he's trying to make America great again. Hey, he's a puppet in a pawn, and he's down for this digital beast system. Why do you think he has Elon Musk? Why do you think he gave that $500 trillion to all of these, all those tech nerds, man, to further invest in the digital beast system, AI, all those things, man. All right. And this is Revelations 13:16. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right. That's that charagma. That's where your central bank digital currency or your UBI will be distributed through. It's going to be through that charagma, that microchip implanted inside of you, man. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You see? So this is why a lot of this, this financial sabotage is ultimately being done, because they want to bring in this new digital system, which is going to lead to the MOTB system. All right. So all these things are playing a role, and they're all linked together. All right. And we know, like we've been telling you, starting with the elders and the apostles, that, hey, eventually this economy is going to collapse. This dollar will eventually go to zero, and there will be cashless society. Remember, China is the model. And with that is going to come social credit scores. Blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, AI, and ultimately that MOTB system, man. All right. So let's see what else is in here. It says, The geopolitical tension and trade wars, it says geopolitical tension are further complicating the economic landscape. The United States is engaged in a trade war with China, which was retaliated with its own tariffs. The tit-for-tat escalation is pushing both nations closer to a military conflict. See? And that's part of the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai too. It's to bring these nations to this third world war. It says Russia and Iran are also aligning against the U.S., with Russia formalizing a mutual defense treaty with Iran. A threat of a nuclear conflict is real, and the U.S. military is ill-prepared to face the advanced hypersonic weapons of its adversaries. You see, that's what the scriptures say. Let the weak say that I am strong. Like I said, a lot of these nations are linking up together, and they're leaving America isolated out there all by itself, financially, geopolitically, through these trade wars. What was that? China, Taiwan, and North or South Korea, they all linked up together to fight against these Trump tariffs as well. You see? So all of these nations are basically linking up together to isolate America and leave this bitch out by herself, because they're all tired of this place. The Lord is tired of this place, and the whole hegemony and the political power that America has had, the Lord is stripping and taking that away. That's why we see Babylon is fallen, and this place is not going to be healed. Nobody's going to link up and come to the aid of Babylon, the great America. These nations are going to leave this place out here by herself, and they're all going to link up eventually. As we know, in Ezekiel 38, Russia and Iran, Russia is going to be that guard unto Iran. And you see now those small hats, the state of Israel is talking about blowing up Iranian nuclear facilities. You even had Trump threatening to blow Iran off the map if they don't come to terms with these whole new nuclear talks, which is what leading, which is building up this tension to this third world war. And further, we know that's going to leave America burnt with fire. And look at this, chemtrails and environmental contamination. The environmental impact of chemtrails, which are being sprayed into the atmosphere, is another critical issue. These aerosols contain high levels of aluminum, copper, lead, and other heavy metals, which are toxic to human health and the environment. The contamination of the air, soil, and water is leading to widespread health problems, including mental instability and physical ailments. This is why everybody is so fucked up here in America, man. Like I said, this is just one. The chemtrails, the heavy metals, the spraying is weakening your immune system. It's dumbing you down. It's leaving you vulnerable to catch more diseases, to be more prone to being sick. And let's not talk about the GMO foods, all of these chemicals in the food, the red 40, the carmine, all these different, chemicals and waste products and drugs that are being put inside the food, making people more fat, making people more docile, more stupid, producing more mental issues with these children. A lot of the people here in America are depressed. So just on every aspect of this society, man, hey, this place is being destroyed, and this is why, such heavy judgment is coming down upon Babylon the Great, man. All right. And this is Isaiah chapter 24, verse 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. And these are just a bunch of basic scriptures. I'm not going too deep, but hey, these basic scriptures, they identify the problem, and they go hand in hand with the situations and the problems that is befalling this society, man. And it all falls on, and it all leads to the man of sin, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. It says the world languisheth and fadeth away. Right. And why is the world languishing and fadeth away? It's because of the rulership, like I said, the chemtrails, the heavy metals, the poison food, the GMOs, the chemicals being inserted in everybody, the music, the television, the whole vibration, and the whole, spirit of this whole society is just wicked and evil and vile and satanic and evil. All right. It's not being ran after the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So therefore, hey, the people are languishing. People are more depressed. A lot of people are unhinged. A lot of people are just on the verge of just going absolutely plumb loco and crashing out, as these YNs would say. Why do you think you see that happening on a higher level? These people are just totally whacked out of their gourd being here in this society. And without you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that are not under the hedge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, you're totally open up to the effect and the demons and the crashing out result that comes with being in this wicked ass, filthy society. All right. It says the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Verse 5, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Right. And a lot of these people are desolate, man. Right. And the curse, is especially of the man, the people of the curse, the Edomites, is causing this earth to be devoured and to be corrupted and to be just, withering away under the rulers thereof, man. And it's affecting every single aspect of this society. So this is why we're constantly telling you, Jakes, to repent and come back to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man, because this place, Babylon, is on its last leg. And the Lord is letting this place be cursed, man, from every sector of the society. All right. It says, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left, because it's going to be burnt with those with thermonuclear destruction, for the for its final judgment of this place. But before that, we just see how the rulership and the people of this earth are languishing, and everything in this society, and the earth itself is being destroyed under the rulership of this damn devil Esau Edom. Look at this economic manipulation. Look at this. The financial collapse is being orchestrated by powerful entities that stand to benefit from the chaos. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of this shit is being done intentionally by these elites, because they want the order out of the chaos. They want to crash this society. They want, to bring cyber attacks, bring use psychological warfare, and eventually turn off the lights and shut down the economy to let you people here just be out here like a bunch of wild animals going buck wild and crazy with no law and order, and bring in martial law, and bring in sedition and bring in all this chaos so that they can bring the order out of it with, this new world order and this digital beast slave system. It says the manipulation of financial markets, the devaluation of the dollar, and the push for a one world currency are all part of a larger plan to consolidate power and control. The global financial system is on the verge of a complete meltdown, and the consequences will be felt globally. You see, because why? They want to bring in this new world order. But at the same time, we know these devils are trying to do all these things and force it, but really it's all in control of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because he wants Babylon the Great in America to go to towards the direction of prophecy, so that it can be completely and utterly destroyed, man. All right. So these elites thinking that they're so smart, they're so intelligent, that they're doing all these things by their own means, but little do they know they're nothing more but pawns in the hands of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and his counsel is going to stand at the end of the day. All right. And this is Psalm 64 and verse 5. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. Who was the they? The Edomites, the wicked, these elites, man. It says they commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? So this whole financial sabotage, them planning all of this chaos, they're doing these things behind closed doors, but they make it seem through their media, through their witchcraft, through their sorcery, through these politicians, through television, as if it's just things that are naturally just happening, and it's not being done intentionally as a snare and as a way to bring in this new world order, but through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Hey, we see these things. We understand how the wicked is working, to where the Lord is even having his own tongue to fall upon himself. So, hey, the information is out of this wickedness that these elites and these devils are doing, man. All right. But he sees it in his mind as if, these people, they're too stupid. They'll never catch on. They'll never be able to link it to us fully. And even if they do, we have the power in the media. We can silence them. We can cancel them. Or, if worse come to worse, we'll just pass laws to where we can just grab these people up and throw them in jail and throw them in prison. Call them crazy, call them lunatics, put them in a concentration camp, put them in re-education centers, and set up a system to where anybody that deems to, expose us or speak negatively against what we're doing, hey, we have laws in place where we can just round them up, lock them in jail, and call them crazy and cancel them, and nobody ever hear from them again. You see? It says they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought and every one of them is deep. You see? So, hey, all these things that we see happening, a lot of these things these devils are doing on purpose. That's part of their crafty counsel, but as we know, hey, the Lord just putting the spirit on them to do that so they can be destroyed. All right, last one. This is social and economic unrest. The economic collapse will lead to widespread social and economic unrest. You see, this is how they're going to bring the order out of the chaos. Let shit go completely left. let this whole economic system collapse, let people be out here fending for themselves, let all of their money that they had in the bank just disappear. You no longer can use dollars. The system is going to collapse. People are going to go crazy. Well, I'm going to show you. It says unemployment will soar, the poverty will become rampant, and people are going to be like animals. They'll become desperate. It'll be a survival of the fittest type of a scenario. Mass rapings, mass murdering, head bussing, desperation, cannibalism, all things that we've been telling you are prophesied to take place. It says the middle class will be decimated and many Americans will face the prospect of homelessness and hunger. The government response will likely to be heavy-handed with increased surveillance and the potential for martial law. The social fabric of the nation will be tested as people struggle to survive in a rapidly deteriorating environment. And then that's where they'll bring in this MOTB system. But hey, this is going to happen because it's written within the scriptures. All right. And where is it? Here we go. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right. When this shit fully collapsed in the survival of the fittest, this is how people are going to be moving out here in America. And we know the average American is armed to the teeth. You see? But this is why they want to collapse the society, to bring all of this chaos and all of this dysfunction so that they can come and play saviors with their digital beast system. This cashless, that's why they want to bring in a cashless society, collapse things as we know it. Just like that movie, Leave the World Behind. They want one of those type of scenarios to happen because that's how they feel they're going to be able to lure everybody into this new mark of the beast system. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. It's going to be martial law, which means what? Warlike law. Basically, you're going to do whatever you got to do to survive, man. Neighbor is going to be against neighbor. People are going to bust your head for a piece of bread. People are going to do anything they got to do to survive, and they're not going to be listening to the governors or the mayors. You might put in a curfew. People ain't going to be listening to that shit. It's going to be all out chaos. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. You see, and in the midst of that, you're going to have this third world war going on. All type of hell breaking loose, instability. People are going to be afraid. You're going to see men with their hands on their loins like a woman in travail. It's going to be complete and utter chaos going on out here, man. And this is the direction in the way that Babylon the Great, America, is headed. And we've been warning and prophesying about this, for years, man. All right, I'm going to read this little part and I'm going to close it. In conclusion, the economic collapse of the United States is a complex and multifaceted crisis that requires immediate, decisive action. Well, our action is in putting faith and trust in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. This is why we're calling Jake to repent and return back to the Most High, so that you can be delivered. And Psalms 91, out of all of the chaos and Jacob's trouble and, financial, economic collapse, or everything I just read in that 2 Ezra the 15th chapter, man. You see, our call to action is not in prepping and storing water and food and, building bunkers and putting our faith in the weapon and in guns and in money and in gold and in hopping on boats and, getting property. Okay, ain't none of that shit gonna save you when all hell breaks loose. Only the hedge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai being with his elect and the wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of our times, man. It says, but understanding the causes and preparing for the consequences, individuals can navigate this challenging period with greater resilience and security. No, your only way to navigate through this is through the names of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and Lord willing, you're part of his elect and part of his predestinated ones that's going to make it through all of this hell and be delivered and saved out of it. So as you can see, man, hey, even these economic analysts and these experts know that America and this society is on an imminent collapse. All right. And we've been warning and we've been telling you, and your only way through it is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. Give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit in me to do this lesson. Lord willing, you were edified. Shalom.